Hi, everybody out there in the internet world. Tonight we are having happy hour with the Curator. I'm your host, Curator, Carrie Johnson. So I hope everyone's doing really well out there and keeping your head up and your chin up and trying to fight through this strange time in our history. So we at the museum thought it would be a really great way to engage with our audience out there by throwing out, hey, let's maybe have a glass of wine together and talk about the museum, which is my favorite subject. So I've got my glass of red wine, so I'm going to cheers you right now. And then I'm going to start digging into some of these questions you asked. So thank you to everybody that participated. We didn't have a ton of questions thrown out there, but the ones we had were mighty. So I'm going to do my best during this next 15 minutes or so that maybe will get you through your drink to answer those questions. And if you have any other questions, please always feel free to email me and I will do my best to answer them. So the first question that came to me was from Renee. And the question was, what is the best way to submit a proposal for an exhibition at Rockford Art Museum? Now, I know curators out there, we all do things very differently. My curatorial aesthetic is I typically curate all my shows alone. So I do have a lot of artists submitting proposals to me for show ideas. Which I just curate my own shows. So what that means is I am constantly researching artists and putting together themed ideas for exhibitions, pairing people together, kind of like what's going on at the museum right now with Derek Bish and Lori Hogan. I've been working on putting those two artists together for a few years now. And the way that I found their work was they're both they're both artists from our permanent collection, and I follow the galleries that they are represented at. So it is just a lot of research on my end, and then I'm always trying to think of how I can make artists work together. So I'm not usually accepting artist proposals. What I like to do more is have artists send me links to their websites or Instagram pages, and that way, even if I don't know your work, I can see it. And just because the most fun of my job as curator is to put shows together. So if any artist out there is interested, please just send me a link to your work. And if I think it would be a good fit for a show that I'm thinking about or putting together, also our shows are usually planned out a few years in advance. So it's always a long process too, but I'm always researching and looking up new artist work. So just send me a link to your images. And even if I don't get back to you, that does not mean that I'm not looking. It means I'm filing it away in different folders. And if I think it might be a great fit, but I don't really have a show concept yet that it would fit into, I always stash it away and I always refer back to those folders, putting shows together. In the meantime, if anybody's interested in showing at the museum, we do our Rockford Midwestern Biennial. And that means it's every other year. That is a terrific way to get your work shown. So we are actually doing that this summer. So we're actually accepting submissions right now. The Midwestern is opening in the fall, in October. So for more information on that, you can go to our website and find out how to submit your work. You can submit up to 3 pieces. There's a juried fee, and then we have a different juror every other year that picks the pieces, and then we show them. So it's great because when we pick a different juror, it's always something new. So the show every other year changes drastically. So that's why we tell artists to, even if you don't get in this year, keep applying like you would for any other any other juried show. Just because you didn't get into one doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep going for it. It just means that that juror was looking for something different. So, Renee, my advice to you is to keep sending me your artwork, keep telling me about shows that you're in, apply for the Midwestern, and keep at it. And I also am in Chicago and Milwaukee and Madison a lot, and I do studio visits all the time. So it's just one of those things where if the timing's right and I think the work's ready for a show at the museum or one that I'm in the planning stages for, and I think it's good, I'll reach out to you and get a conversation going. So thank you, Renee, for your question. Let's see what else we've got from Karen. This was, what kind of classes do you offer to adults with little or no art experience? We've got several things going on kind of all the time. And for each exhibition that we host, we have a lot of different programming that we offer for each exhibition. So it changes up. So I do encourage you to check out our Facebook page all the time just to see what new programs we have going on, new classes. And so in the past, we've done the Cork and Canvas events, which have been very popular. And that is really fun because we get a different instructor to come do it different times. So we had Diane Rose Daling do it one time, and it was a figure drawing class, and that's really fun. And those are great classes too because they're 2 hours, that's it. So you can grab a bunch of friends and come have a glass of wine and some cheese and crackers and get in there. Even if you're a really accomplished artist, a good figure drawing class is always good to have just to keep your skills on point. And if you're an emerging artist, I loved it. I'm going to call my mom out here, but she came to the figure drawing class and she sat and drank wine and didn't draw a thing, but she loved being with her friends and family. And so you can come and just enjoy the experience and enjoy watching other people do art. So keep on the lookout for our Cork and Canvas events because those are really fun. And also, I will say this to everybody watching. If you have a group of people, we've done this in the past as well, that if you've got a work event or if you want to host a birthday party where you want to do a Cork and Canvas event, we can always customize that to your group. So for more information on that, just give a call to our offices and we'll help you walk through that. What else we offer is something called studio artists. And studio artists are for adults that have little to no experience or can be masters of their craft. So it's really kind of it's a 2-hour class, and it's something that you have to register for. We've got a spring session and a fall session. And it's 8 classes, 8 courses, and they're 2-hour classes. You can find out more information on our website about that. Classes limited to 10 people. So we've got a wonderful instructor named Yasmina. She's a local artist that's lived here since 1999. And she comes in and everybody comes in and she kind of gives individual instruction to each person. So say I came into the class and I really wanted to work on landscapes. I could come in and bring my supplies and Yasmina would walk me through that. Or say I wanted to work on portraits. She will help you through that as well. But it really is something more that it's individual. So you're not getting the same instruction as everyone else. You're all kind of working on your own, but Yasmin is there to facilitate and to help you out with different techniques or to give you tips on how to change things. But again, that is like an 8-week course. So it's once a week. So that is something that you have to register for, and it's something that you need to be a little bit more into having that 8 weeks set aside for your art classes. So it's not that spontaneous wine and 2-hour class. It's more of you really want to kind of work on your craft. So that again is called Studio Artists. And you can go on our website to find the link to that and more information on the class schedules, how much each class is. And if you, again, have any more questions about that, please give us a call or email us and let us know, because we'd love to help you out with that. And Yasmina, again, is a wonderful instructor, so I encourage you to check out her class. Let's see, what's our next one? Paul asked, what's your favorite piece in the permanent collection? Paul, that is not an easy question. I should say that I've got several pieces in the permanent collection that are my favorites. And I can't say that it doesn't change, because if I'm working on a permanent collection show, I fall in love with different pieces at different times. So, of course, gosh, this is so hard. I love Thornton Dial. His work in our permanent collection really stands out to me. So Thornton Dial is one of my favorites. We've got a great Robert Longo piece that is one of my favorites as well. I love our local artists, Lynn Fisher, Carlson, Stephen Ward Anderson. I also love work by Chicago artist Jackie Moses, Julie Heffernan, obviously Derek Bish and Lori Hogan, just to name a few. But again, I love going through our photography, and Manuel Correo is one of my favorite photographers in our collection. I love some of our old American masters, like George Robertson, and I love Pauline Palmer. There's so many in our collection of 2,000 pieces that I walk through and just am amazed by how amazing our permanent collection is. So my feelings towards our collection are ever changing. I also am a huge fan of Ken Warnicki. So yeah, those are just to name a few. I'm sure Ed Paschke, he's one of my favorites as well. But again, our local and regional artists, Jim Jeline is a great, Betsy Youngquist. So I can't tell you one, because I love them all for different reasons, and I love them differently at different times. I really can't say there's any I hate, so that's a good thing, right? Okay, so thank you for that question, Paul. I'm sorry I couldn't be more specific, but I love so many of them. So our final questions, we got 4 questions this week, which I was thrilled with, especially because they kind of all hit on different things, like our permanent collection, our educational programming, and this last one is from Stephen. And he said, one of my favorite art sculptors is John Kearney. I'm lucky enough to live in Chicago and be in the presence of many of his works. According to Wikipedia, Ram has a couple of his pieces. I was hoping you could confirm this and speak to the museum's relationship with the artist. Yes, we do have 2 pieces in our collection. And let me just talk about John Kearney for a minute here. He was, let me just pull, I love this too, so thank you for this question, because I was able to go in his permanent collection file and kind of sift through. This is one of the fun parts of my job as well, is we follow all of our permanent collection artists. So we've got files and files filled, and when a permanent collection artist is exhibited in another show somewhere else, we usually have the museum or gallery send us a gallery guide so that we can always keep their permanent collection folders up to date. And so we can kind of follow their careers, even if they've passed away, just like John Kearney has passed away. And I think he passed away in 2004. He was 90 years old. 2000, maybe 2014. I think he was born in 1924. I can confirm that as well. But I just want to go through some of these amazing archives that we have. This is just a copy, but it says, with an instinct for the extinct, John Kearney brings back the dinosaurs bumper to bumper. So what's so cool is he's using bumpers from cars to create these amazing sculptures. This was in People magazine in 1989. And I just loved this dinosaur, and there he is standing at the top of it, and it's completely made of car bumpers. So that's one cool archive of John Kearney's. This one's from inside Lincoln Park, and plans to turn Goose Island into modern industrial park sees opposition. So this is talking about it, and he created a 2-ton Tyrannosaurus Rex created entirely of car bumpers. And this was unveiled Sunday at the Chicago Academy of Sciences. And this was from 1989 as well. But if you can kind of see here, look at how big this sculpture is, made entirely of car bumpers. So I love these. Now, obviously the pieces in our collection are a lot smaller scale. We've got one called Warthog, and we've got one called Giraffe. The giraffe, I'd say, is maybe 18 inches to 2 feet tall. This is our little warthog guy. And unlike his other works that's made of car bumpers, this one's made of bronze. And these both sculptures of John's were gifted to us by Francis and June Spicer. And I love this too of our archives. We love to follow how a piece got to our permanent collection as well. So it's not just about beefing up an artist's file, it's the provenance. So where did it go before it came to us? And a lot of times on backs of pieces, you can see a gallery sticker of when it was exhibited in a museum or a gallery. And that's kind of a way to keep track of too where that piece is gone. So we actually have the letter of purchase that Francis and June have, and they gave us all of this paperwork when they gifted us with this amazing collection that started back in the mid-90s and actually went through the 2010, 2009. And that collection is comprised of about 150 pieces of modern and contemporary Chicago art. And it is one of our most amazing collections that's been gifted to us. And John Kearney's pieces were a part of that collection. They purchased Warthog in 1990, and I love this too because it was written to Francis and June Spicer, and it says, this will serve as a statement for the bronze sculpture Warthog, which you purchased for shipment to Henderson, Nevada for Joseph Spicer. It goes into how much the piece was and when you can drop the check off. But I just love it too because these pieces are so great, especially when we have the letterhead from the artist. So we've got a lot of great archives like that for our permanent collection coming from the artist's own stationery dating back to early 1900s. So it's really special, and I'm so glad that we can keep these. A lot of these are copies, so don't worry if I don't have gloves on. But to these great exhibition show cards, I wanted to read you something from this great little gallery guide from 1994, Cedarhurst Mitchell Museum. It says Chicago artist John Kearney has been producing sculpture out of car bumpers for almost 30 years. His favorite subject matter is animals, and the variety of his work ranges from 2-inch high prancing horses in sterling silver to a 26-foot Tyrannosaurus Rex from car bumpers. He was born in Omaha, Nebraska. He said from the 3rd grade he knew he wanted to be an artist. In 1951, he co-founded the Contemporary Art Workshop in Chicago, an art bronze foundry with 26 artist studios and 2 galleries. Amazing. He went to Cranbrook Academy of Arts in Michigan. He went to Italy for a year on a Fulbright scholarship. He had a studio in Rome. I love this guy too. All the pictures of him, he just looks like the sweetest guy. So I appreciate you reaching out to us because it gave me the opportunity to talk about this amazing collection that we got from Francis and June Spicer. Again, it was in the mid 1990s, and Francis and June were a Chicago couple and amassed a huge collection. And what I loved about them as collectors is there are a lot of collectors out there that are collecting artwork for monetary. They think, hey, I'm going to buy this piece and maybe in 10 years I can resell it and make a lot of money. Francis and June were not like that at all. They bought work because they loved art, but not only that, they loved the artists. They had relationships with most of the artists that they were collecting. So they were collecting at the time from mostly emerging artists, some that were kind of well put in their careers, but they didn't have a lot of money to spend on artwork. So they were kind of buying when artists were early on in their career so they could afford it. But what was great about them is they had a really good eye. So they were buying from some amazing artists, probably like John Kearney and Ed Paschke. So they were buying early on in these artists' careers. And I don't think they cared at all if the artist made it anywhere. And actually some pieces from the collection that we got, artists maybe made one or two pieces. And when we were researching artists, they weren't around anymore because they tried art for a while and then they went into something completely outside of art. So what I love about Francis and June is they bought work because they loved it and they loved the artists. They supported these artists throughout their careers. They maintained really wonderful friendships with them. They always supported them by going to their shows. So I think it's a real testament to Francis and June as collectors. They have both since passed away, but when they gave us the collection, a big question was why? Why are they giving this collection to Rockford Art Museum? Why aren't they giving it to some of these bigger Chicago museums? And the reason is because we are that mid-sized museum. We're really accessible. Our collection is not so extensive where people are going to give us a piece of art and maybe it'll be shown every 10 years, every 15 years. We are constantly revolving our permanent collection galleries located in the lower level of our museum. Those are rotating out at least 6 to 8 times a year. So we're really able to show the public our permanent collection all the time. And they knew that we did that, and they knew that we would really use this to engage with our community, which we certainly have. So I love those collector stories. And so maybe in the next few weeks while we're all stuck at home together, I can tell you about some other really great collections that we've received from different collectors over the years. So I hope I did an okay job answering all of your questions. Again, thank you so much for reaching out and sending me these questions, and anything else that you think of, keep sending them. And I would love to continue this engagement with you, even though I didn't get to drink too much of my wine. I hope you did at home, and I hope you enjoyed our time together. So cheers to a really fun Cocktails with the Curator, and keep sending me your questions and we can keep talking. Have a great night.